Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Week 4 match between Scorch and Vancouver. Arpie's Spies here, and I'll be your caster. Just waiting for the draft to start up here. The in-game client seems to not be functioning, at least for me. But the picking seems to have gone underway. I'd say more things here for maybe anticipation of what we'd expect. But I've not seen Vancouver play, I don't think. Much more familiar with Scorch, but my memory with those matches is bad too. But we do have a support-centric ban versus a heavy flex ban, followed up by a two-lane flex ban. Actually, I forget if Silas can actually be played top nowadays. A Moo ban to retaliate. So it seems like Vancouver might actually be aiming towards junglers or supports, since Scorch does use a Moo in support, so. There's the Vi ban. And final for ban phase 1 to be Morgana. First pick lock going into Milio. Not surprised about that CLT with all the buffs he's been getting. Heck, even several seasons ago, back before Rel got her mid-scope, I saw Silas support be played bot, like, often enough. And honestly, kind of unplayable if he gets a Dark Ring on his first back. Just because of how much AP scaling he has available to him and the fact that he can just cancel everything that Rel does. Like, just the Dark Ring alone gave him, like, what, about 60 to 70 damage on his rotations on, like, level 3 or whatever. Maybe a bit more than that, even. It's crazy. Vancouver locking in Ashe and Zilean. Zilean being a possible mid-flex pick here. Scorch finishing off its bot lane picks with Sivir. And Maokai is a possible top jungle flex. Vancouver finishing their last pick off with Xin Zhao, whom the site still has yet to update with his new art. First ban of the second phase going to Vigor, counteracted by Kennen, taking out the Yordles. And Gwen will be the final ban for Vancouver. Like there might be a tank angle top lane for them. While Scorch decides to take Orianna, which I'm not sure if the recent patch went in yet, but Orianna was going to be getting hit with the Nerf bat. As Vancouver starts off the first pick phase, locks in Galio to be responded to with a Mundo Hover. Contemplating, and the lock. Vancouver's top laner is still hidden at this point. But there is lots of protection on the Ashe with the Zilean and Galio together. But the Ace Soul might make that difficult. Hovering Mord. Honestly, this situation is not too bad for Sivir, I feel. She can still hit Xin Zhao for the ricochets through his ultimate. And it's against a composition that he does excel pretty decently at. While there is dive potential with Xin Zhao and Galio, having that Maokai and Milio there for the hard disengage could help with turning any engagements back towards Vancouver. And there's the Fiora pick. Alright. As picks are locked in, the actual draft should be starting here in a bit. Looks like Team Order was just getting fixed up briefly. Alright, start your 4-minute timers. Unfortunately, I can't force a ad here to try and clear way during the match itself. But in the meantime, gotcha. Thanks, CLT. In the meantime, compositions. So Scorch bot lane should have enough aggression to take on Vancouver's. Milio and Zilean are both threats of their own right, but Zilean might struggle into Sivir, but not sure. They did pick after the Sivir pick, so they anticipate it being fine. And Zillian's a really strong mid-late game pick. Milio, exceptionally strong disengage for a lot of this, but I feel that Fiora can be incredibly dangerous, especially with telegraphed crowd control like Maokai available for her to stop, as well as Milio to get the stun effect off on her riposte. While the mid lane, Lux into Galio, Lux is able to basically free clear eventually. But, actually, I'm not sure how her route interacts with Galio's dash. Because I know with Rel, she can, like, brush it off, jump through it. If Galio's able to do the same, lane should, or could possibly be dangerous for the Lux, depending on how things go. Or he can even freeze the wave in front of his tower, potentially, for Xin Zhao to come over for relatively easy ganks, because Galio gank setup is incredibly strong. Got it. Alright. It's in the prepare your loadout phase right now, 54, so basically 4 minutes until the match begins. PTA Lux. That comboed with the Lichbane and Nashor's Tooth? Or something else? I would have respect for a Lux that would be going for that sort of aggressive angle instead of the 3 screens away angle. But it is very risky to do such a thing, especially into, you know, Ashe, Xin Zhao, and literally all of them, actually. Lux is very much immobile, and playing a setup that has you sitting in relatively close proximity does mean that the vast majority of her opponents can kind of prompt her death to be sped up. Yeah, but after laning phase, there'd be issues. Yeah, the prediction window was short. Honestly, should probably open up another one, like refund the points. I forget if you're actually able to refund points. But yeah, I it was funny to see the timer was like 4 minutes before the draft even began. Gotcha, gotcha. Oh, for the series, not for the match. Got it. Yo, you gotta have it per the match at uh, at the very least, you know, because then it adds more tension and more point opportunities. Although I'm not sure what the points do for this channel at the moment. So far, it seems it's defaults. Alright, yep. Spectator delay ends in 1 minute 25 seconds. So it should be... Ah, I forgot to change the thing. There we go. Oh. Oh, wait, never mind. I was gonna say, what? Zillion top? And then no, there's definitely not a Fiora support. That would be silly. That would be very silly. In terms of how I think the match will go, I want to say that it feels to me that Vancouver probably has a more reliable mid and late game. Fiora kind of helps it a lot, especially with the peel against her not being the greatest. I'm not sure how the Mundo and Fiora matchup goes, but I can only suspect that it's more reliable for Mundo to pop off in the early, but then eventually get outscaled hard by the, you know, percentage health true damage. Uh, and it seeming sometimes like Fiora doesn't really care if she gets slowed or not. Kind of like Riven, you know? Fiora is kind of like a Riven, except with a lot of true damage in her kit. Alright. As the match is now underway. And the forced ad break seems to be finished as well. Alright, so far looks like it's going to be a 5-point defense on either side.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Sir, go away. Galio seems to have been spotted out, and that is an early victory for Vancouver, due to the Zillion getting a mana flow ban proc off already. Ooh, second proc? Yes, wait. Yep. 2 mana flow procs before 1 minute. Milio almost dead.
Minions have spawned.
Pretty substantial lead right off the bat. Wish there was a button to make directed cam swap instantly instead of need to sit there for 5 seconds. We'll be starting off here. Galio being slightly pressured away from the main. And Lux went Dark Harvest. Press the attack on Fiora. Getting 2 weak point hits, very nice. But there are no minions to block another Q there. But was a pretty strong trade so far. Goes passive should heal him a bit, and he will have biscuits and health potions to go off alongside his. Here comes the Zillion bully. Minion loss the bot lane. As Galio seems to be holding up his own in the mid. Fiora going much more aggressive in the top lane. Mundo sitting below half health. Did hit level 3 first, however. Going toward the tri-bush. Weak point on Mundo's top, narrowly missed by Fiora. Dark Harvest proc should be available soon for Lux. Honestly, kind of crazy that Fiora's riposte doesn't cost much more mana than it does. Like, you would expect an ability as powerful as riposte, especially considering some other champions early game, like, power play stuff. Like the whole discussion Freak gave about Cassante's W, I believe it was. Big fight going on the bottom. Milio caught out, will have enough slows landed on him to prevent his escape as Sivir's trying to go and finish up some cleanup duty. Ashe will get rooted. There comes the knockup. Xin Zhao going in. Didn't get the third hit for a heal from the passive. Maokai will go down. Ashe barrier came up. Sivir does have her own barrier. Q comes out as Ashe flashes away from the return, survives, and lands the killing blow onto Sivir. Really nice coordination there from Vancouver. Close double for Boonstra. Or, well, it wouldn't have been a double because Maokai got the first kill. Which is unfortunate there. Ashe is going to have a significant advantage in this end, having Zerk boots and roughly the same amount of attack damage available. And she has, you know, her own innate attack speed steroids, so. Mundo dropping below below 100 health. Throwing out some Qs just to heal, because at that low health, hitting a Q will give him more health than he expends, if I recall correctly. But he did get a comfy cleanup with the tower. 1,000 gold. Is it gonna be like 2 ruby crystals? Bramble Vest. Okay, it is double AD. Although I think if you were going for a defensive item into these two, into the top laner and jungler, would Bramble Vest be the better option rather than a Chain Vest and something else? Like Chain Vest and Boots maybe to give you a move speed advantage, since speed is a very nice thing to have an advantage of in the top lane. Trying to get on the right champion. Alright. Zillion running. There comes the Galio. Misses the knockup. As Lux is moving down, doesn't manage to take out the Zillion with formerly known as Finelis from Kill. As Rusty Crow will drop at the Tribush. However, everyone in Vancouver is exceptionally low. Sivir trying to provide enough damage. Out comes the flash Q from Lux, narrowly avoided by Pixel. They will disengage from this point. Ashe has plenty of mana to put some pressure, as well as Zillion actually. What's that? Ooh, he is very close to his level 6. Alright, Milio gonna be taking a bit of hurt from the bomb. Looks like Zillion's going Q-Max first. Recalling before level 6. Bit surprised. Ashe is level 6 now. Out comes the arrow for the cheese with the stun. Mundo Flash popped. As Milio forced away from the tower XP. This Vancouver bot lane is putting on a lot of pressure. That is 4 kills on Ashe at this point. Not quite enough to buy her first complete item, however. Mostly because of Zerk Boots, but, you know, the Zerk Boots give her such an advantage in the lane. Sivir still does not have boots, actually. That is not going to work out well for her. As Void Grubs will be going to Vancouver as well. 2-5 and nearly a 3,000 gold lead. Or, well, just over 2,000. Nearly would be a bit too skewed. Definitely not going to be a dive attempt here. There's no way that they would attempt to dive a Mundo, right? Although Mundo doesn't have his ultimate. So technically they could. But they can't really remove those passes between Xinjiao and Fiora. Since I'm pretty sure that if Xinjiao has Mundo marked, that his ultimate would not break Mundo passive. So the knockup would just be impossible with those two, as Fiora wouldn't have anything available to change her riposte into a stun regardless. Here comes the pings for a gank in the mid. Taunt comes out, misses. Ashe arrow as well goes wide. Nice try there. But maybe if Xinjiao waited a tad longer, the arrow could have hit. Or actually, I think it was the Galio. But it is what it is. And everything was pretty close, so. Lux seems to be the only one on Vancouver's, not Vancouver, on Scorch's end. with a CS lead in their lane, and general gold lead actually. Just over 300 thanks to the kill. Galio only has an assist. On. Did not manage to land his augmented basic attack there. Mundo trying to go aggressive. Ult. Fiora putting her own ult as well. Will possibly be aiming for a kill, but nope. There's Rusty with the Maokai ultimate. Out comes the riposte. 200 health. Flashes, but will die regardless. Very well done on that gank top side. Window missed for Fiora's opportunity to kill the Mundo. And Tides turned against her with that rapid regeneration provided by his passive in the back end of his ultimate. Second, man, when do they get the first dragon? Second dragon of the match going to Vancouver. That will be setting Ocean Drake as the soul for the match. Xin Zhao once again coming behind the Lux, who will flash out to safety, but with half of her health remaining. Does not manage to get a clean ultimate on the wave, unfortunately, as Xin Zhao probably priming for a dive somewhere. Down in the bot lane. Will be spotted out on the ward. Zilean has Shirelia's Reverie and his ultimate available for this play. If they do anything, Maokai is coming down bot side. Ultimate not yet ready, however, as Fiora is going aggressive. Alright, stun once again from the Zilean. Will be healed back slightly by the Milio. As the tension here in the top lane is getting pretty intense. There's the double Giant's belt on top of the Bramble. More pressure. Maybe first tower gone at this point. Those 3 grubs applying plenty of pressure towards the health of the tower.
Turret plating will soon
And I believe the feat of 3 kills, I don't know what the name is. Right, Lux landing her combo to knock the Galio down to half his health. No! The cannon. Even more pressure put up in bot lane. Tower gone. Ultimate landing onto Milio. His ultimate coming out afterwards to try and save Sivir. Gets out with just over 100 health. As Zilean's taking this opportunity to go for some possibly deep vision, he will. Lux walking over there, I wonder if it was kind of to... Or if it gave Zilean the impression that she was warding herself. Out came the barrier, followed by the Q. Galio will probably be recalling soon, as he does have his ultimate available. Should it be needed as the rotate from its bot lane comes. Alright, Void Grubs... Or no, that's Rift Herald. Yeah. It always seems like Void Grub's second spawn just leaves so fast. And comes and goes so fast. Ooh, here comes the final Rift Herald actually. Will be a 3v3. Out comes the Maokai ultimate, lands on Xin Zhao. Proceeds to use his ult instead. Will be backing up. Flashes the Lux ult, but dies only to be resurrected with Zillion ult. Ashe a bit out of place, however, Mundo is sticking to her, not letting her get out. However, Scorch is getting kind of deleted here. Not sure where all the damage is coming from. But we do know where the gold is going. Like, I would assume the damage is coming from Fiora, because, you know, she has Ravenous Hydra. Wait. They put on... Okay. They did not put Omnivan back on Ravenous Hydra. Okay. Fiora continuing for some more gold, possibly. I hate that bug! I hate that bug so much. Alright, and they got it. As Vancouver's taking its next set of movements out, let's see what the map looks like for Scorch. They see Ashe pushing up in the mid, and Lux gets a jump scare from Galio and Xin Zhao. It'll be the third dragon of the game, going comfortably as Scorch, as actually, what do we have here? Galio going aggressive on the Lux, does force the flash. She can't walk forward due to the bomb sitting right there. Did she land her? It looked like she landed her Q. But guess not. A lot of pressure being put on by the Zillion. Absolute menace when he's able to freely move around like that. And that was a nice sneak attack on the from the Galio, disrupting the Lux, costing her quite a bit. Alright, Mundo passive popped, dropping to around half health as the tower will go down. This aggression is insane. Xin Zhao ultimate coming out to block a lot of the incoming damage from the Sivir. However, his allies are taking quite a bit of pain from the ricochet. Ashe is forced to pop or come off. I can only assume that there might be like a Knight's Bow or Blade of the Rune King coming up, maybe. Is that Moby Boots? Oh no, upgraded Zerks. That picture doesn't look like it's something that's upgraded from Zerks. I've got yellow far too or like orangish color far too associated with Moby. Alright, Fiora coming up. Was not spotted anywhere on vision yet. But Maokai will walk off. Any jump scares? Still nothing. Still nothing. Ilio gonna be coming in to get vision here. One ward spotted. Zillion is finally about. Vancouver moving. What's their plan here? Are they just going to be heading back to mid lane? 4-man push? Or pressuring so that Fiora can do something bot? Fiora does have teleports. Ooh, Taunt comes out. Lux is a goner. Ah, that's right. They're moving over for Atacon. Spawning in 15 seconds. Very nice coordination setup for Lux. Forcing into a 5v4 situation. They do have relatively neutral status up top, and bot lane is pushed out. Only tower they've lost thus far is the top lane outer. That was surrendered for much more plays around the other end of the map. As Atacon will be secured for free. Match is looking pretty rough for Scorch at this point. 7,000 gold lead. Missing 2 lanes worth of towers outside of their base. And let's see the gold allocation here. Alright, so Ashe and Fiora seems to be where most of it is currently pocketed.
Lead our way.
An ideal spread, if you will. While Sivir and Maokai are kind of neck and neck with each other. Mundo passive popped once again, as he will end up chasing out Galio. Xin Zhao deciding to just recall, as Ashe and Fiora opting to push mid, but Fiora moving down for that bot lane push now. Alright, Ashe recalling. Still got plenty of time before Baron spawns. However, next dragon is up in 40 seconds. That should be what these recalls coming out are for, as enough power has been established throughout the map. Pixel does have teleport available to him. Okay, disconnect. Here comes the pause.
A summoner has reconnected.
Right, there's the reconnect, so we can expect the unpause here shortly. Alright, so my first impressions of seeing Vancouver play is they are very well coordinated with each other. Taking objectives, only thing that they didn't really get thus far was, you know, that second spawn of Void Grubs. But, you know, they got, for the most part, everything else, and haven't really left much avenue for Scorch to play this out. The Fiora pick was kind of devastating for Scorch's endgame. And the Zillion was able to apply incredible amount of pressure onto the Sivir and Milio down in the bot lane, propelling them to this lead. It's just freezing up a bit, because it kind of does that sometimes after pauses. Oh no. Mundo got hit by a weak point and is realizing now why he might not want to fight the Fiora. As Dragon Point looks to possibly be taken, but we might see a steal attempt in contest. Out comes the Galio ult. As there will be no steal, Soul goes to Vancouver, while Scorch's cleanup should be sealed. Only survivor thus far being Maokai, but Fiora spotting him is going for blood, as he is in her territory. Unfortunately, no Q reset. What was that trigger? What was that little blast that hit? It was weird. It looked like she shot off a Blade of the Ruined King trigger. But that will be an unofficial ace for Vancouver. They are still fairly strong here, especially with the Ocean Drake to heal them all, so I don't think that Scorch might want to take a 4v4 here away from the tower. Fiora isn't available to absolutely nuke their health at the very least, but she is on the opposite end of the map, kind of destroying their turrets they've held up thus far. As Mundo's health is dropping dangerously low, will flash out to attempt to get away, but does not succeed as two go down. Lux takes Ash's life in exchange, as Fiora will continue her push up in topside with nothing but Maokai to contest, as Milio has to back off himself. This should be 3 inhibs down at this point, if not the base. There were pings coming out on the towers, and we have 10 plus seconds for the remainder of Scorch to spawn, and this should be game. Congrats, game 1 to Vancouver. And it looks like they actually started the draft already. Pretty intense game 1. Did end for a victory of Vancouver. Exceptional team play and rotations for objectives. Nice resets before the times they needed to happen. You can see that it was generally around 40 seconds with prep ahead of time to restrict Scorch's ability to respond to them. And give me a brief second so I can fix the sides here while they're picking their options. Alright. And it appears that both sides thus far are once again sticking to same bans thus far. Although Vancouver is reconsidering its third, perhaps? Opting for Sejuani, as Scorch sits with its Morgana ban. Vancouver's support shown that they quite like to be a bully, as well as the bot lane in general, and accompanying general cheese tactics, which, you know, it's very much what you want to do when you have an Ashe. If you get that level 6 first, let the enemy overextend, let them think you've recalled, and BAM! Get your free gold. As Vancouver first picks Yunara. Did get nerfed semi-recently with the... I think it was the amount of move speed from her E that they took out. Scorch opting to Syndra and Wukong. As Vancouver responds with Talia. And their final pick for Phase 1. Lee Sin hover and locked. Alright, a bit excited to see what Vancouver's final two picks are going to be. Whether it's going to be a squishy but offensive setup, early game burst, or if we're going to see a bit of a curve to solidify their mid and late game strength. Scorch decides on Diana. Diana into Talia. Not sure how that works. Which I mentioned last stream that like the CC duration from Talia's W, was there a W? I think it's her W. Isn't all that particularly time intensive, so even if you dash, you can sometimes have more than enough time to do what needs to be done. Alright, second wave of bans, pretty quick. Scorch removing Pike and Nautilus. Vancouver once again taking out Gwen. And their final ban aiming for Scorch has a lot of Wombo energy. Final ban for Vancouver, Camille. Are we gonna see like Cassante or something? Janna lock for Scorch. Oh, not locked yet. Not locked yet. Honestly, though, kind of hard to see. Kind of hard to tell what Scorch would want. And I agree with the change. The Janna might not actually be what they want because, at least as of at the moment, she can do some stuff into Lee Sin, but otherwise not really all that much for Janna to be able to deal with. So here comes the Braum lock for Vancouver. Should perform well into Syndra and Diana, blocking Diana's ability to jump the way that she would possibly like to. Also being grouped up and having your shield up is pretty darn strong as someone that ran into several Braums when playing Rel. He makes her life pretty miserable. And while there isn't a Rel in this matchup, it's still the same thought process. Everyone's grouped up, you put a wall that has a bit of an extension on its hitbox, and make everyone a bit safer. For this regard, it'd mostly be from the Syndra, as well as blocking Syndra's ultimate, which is incredibly strong as well. And there is the Olaf pick to counteract the Mordekaiser. Alright, and with that, drafting for Game 2 has been completed. As a reminder to anyone that might have hopped in at this point, this is Game 2. First match went to Vancouver. In terms of team compositions, did seem like I was correct, and Vancouver opted for a more healthy mid and late game after that early game fairly squishy early game skew with the Talia and Lee Sin. But I think we should be in for a pretty fun match once again. Scorch opting for a bit more reliability, but it seems like they forgot a marksman. It's probably going to be Syndra bot, but Syndra into a Braum is probably going to be a bit hard to deal with. He has a lot of health to tear through, plenty of damage mitigation, provides himself and his allies a shield. You can guarantee the first item Braum is going to buy is going to be a locket. I feel, if it is Syndra in the bot lane. With that, her ability to do much is going to be a bit heavily stunted, I feel. Assuming it is Syndra Carbot, that is. And what's it? Yunara at least has power to extend fights. Braum is good for extending fights. And Karma likes to bait extended fights for her tether, but I feel that it might be counteractive for her here. And, you know, Syndra is all about burst. So Syndra into Yunara in like a 1-1 scale isn't a particularly bad thing. It's just the fact that Braum will be thrown in the mix, especially with Lee Sin as well. I can feel his shield being problematic in the long run too. For Scorch to deal with. Then, you know, there's Mordekaiser that can absolutely disrupt anything that Wukong or Diana might attempt doing later on. I feel that Scorch is going to have to put a lot of resources into Wukong and Olaf in order to be able to contest hard into this team. Particularly because Wukong is generally all around strong and gold has fairly good value on him. A lot of good squishy targets as well as Mordekaiser that he should be able to handle, provided, you know, he doesn't fall behind. Olaf is a strong threat in general. There's not really options to distance easily from him or stop him, even outside of his ultimate. But, you know, Yunara does hurt a lot. If she gets ahead, I honestly feel like the game might just be done from that. But, I don't know. Judging by the game 1 performance, as well as, you know, the general strength and roundedness and having a marksman on Vancouver's end, I want to say the game 2. I would put it in their favor. But Scorch can prove me wrong. We'll see. Probably going to need to make a lot of early game plays. Alright, and the prayer loadout finish. We are on the 3-minute spectator delay countdown now. Oops. Thank you. Don't forget to run the subtract as well. Ho ho ho. I can't tell what role everyone is based on this. It's all out of position. I can only assume that it is Syndra and Karma bot, Diana mid, Olaf top, Wukong jungle. And I don't think there's any guessing as to what Vancouver's composition could be. Or position. Uh, ignore the bottom of the screen stuff. That stuff I don't bother matches. Only the in-game. Vancouver is on the left, as you can tell by their name. Once the match starts, I'm gonna run and refill my water, and I'll be right back. A lot of pings coming out. It looks like they're probably gonna be going for something in lane. Early. Yep, everyone's rushing down there. As Vancouver's ping goes towards the Tri
Welcome
Bush.
to Summoner's Rift. "30 seconds until minions spawn."
Alright, I don't expect anything to happen here. I'm gonna sit here for like 15 more seconds. Maybe less, as I recall it. Alright, I will be back.
Minions have spawned.
Olaf putting some good aggression into the Mordekaiser, but Mordekaiser does have his shield available. Will go for a Q flash. Was unsuccessful. Recall will be stopped by Olaf. Cannon will be lost and the wave should be crashed soon. Honestly, you should let him go at that point. At least I think. Because Mordekaiser would basically miss the full wave if he did finish his recall. Which should be much more in Olaf's favor than just having him take a late. Oh crap. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Hold up. I'm gonna... I fixed it. Alright, I backed it up. Because of my stupidity. My bad. I am so sorry. I'll put it from the beginning and I'll speed it up. I'm sorry, I was just describing the game to you guys instead of showing you the game. So sorry.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. 30 seconds until minions spawn.
Alright.
Minions have spawned.
Okay. So yeah, there was the attempt to rush down the bot side. I'll just speed. I'll leave it at a... Or no, this is 5 speed. Yeah, I'll just go from here. Apologies for that faux pas. It's probably not the right word to use, but you know what I mean. So yeah, just some relatively even trading here early. Good aggression by Braum, but missed his Q. Should see the trading starting up here soon. Top side. Because mid lane and bot lane are kind of stalemate state at this point. Junglers working their way towards bot side. Possibly see a fight for the scuttle start up. Here comes the trading between Olaf and Mordekaiser. Health getting low on Mord. Saving his W. Pops it last second. There's the Q flash onto Olaf's own shield. As Lee Sin did try to go for something to the bot side. We'll get spot on the ward as Wukong's still taking out his jungle camp. And back off. Right here, I feel that it would have been in Olaf's best interest to let Mordekaiser finish his ultimate. Ooh, Wukong rounding up for a gank on the bot side, but he doesn't know Lee Sin's there. He will get spotted if he moves downward. There's the stun by the Syndra. Karma attempting to lock her down. Doesn't have a slow on her tether, however. Cleanse. Flash from Rusty Crow for the last hit. Kill goes to Braum. Will tag. Karma, as Karma and Syndra back off safely. Kill went to Wukong. Not bad for him. But Yunar is returning quickly with a cull. At the very least, Syndra does have teleport available to her, so she wants to kind of make use of her mana here, I think. But it also means that Yunar is going to be getting some solo XP here for a bit. Diana once again going pretty aggressive onto Talia, who is very low on mana at this point. But when she's standing on work ground, her Q only costs 1 mana. But not a lot of work mana available. Alright, here comes Wukong for the gank up top. Mordekaiser does have his shield filled up entirety. Will he be able to do anything? And no, unfortunate. But teleport is ready for him, so he should be able to teleport back to lane without missing too much at this point. But it does seem like the wave will crash. Actually, back up. We gotta see what happened here. Alright, Diana completely alone with 3 around her, flashes to the tower. Puts quite a bit of damage on Lee Sin. Biting off a lot right there, Banana. Will go down. 1 kill for 1 kill plus 2 assists. Good job turning it. It's almost profitable. Wukong putting pressure on the Braum, calling. Braum doesn't actually have to recall though. Just staring at each other. Baiting a recall in the bush. Will be spotted out. Narrowly misses the axe. Just short. Diana is paying a visit. Is going to be seen by Lee Sin here. Braum coming up. Will tag the Diana. Follow up from Lee Sin. Stun triggered. But Braum does not have ultimate available. Diana using hers on Braum on his own. Rusty Crow overcommitting. Will die after being stunned. As Braum will heal up. He's pretty healthy after all that. Talia going forth to lock Diana's escape out. She does not have stun and flash available, but Syndra does manage to at least provide a kill. As there should be a state reset here, and I will see what happened up in the top side, because we're far back enough already. Why not make it even further back? Alright, Mordekaiser pushing in towards the tower, has full health. Olaf missing a bit. Olaf getting pulled in, but he frankly does not care and is using it to his advantage. CC immune all the while. Olaf doesn't bother trying to get away, and his cooldowns just aren't fast enough at this point to deal with Olaf yet. Ooh, Talia narrowly avoiding death. Getting a nice knock up onto Wukong despite the dash forward with his clone. As Scorch is attempting to get the first dragon of the match. First wave of grubs will be spawning in 5 seconds. And they are down. Nice pull. Olaf ultimate not yet up. Will be up before Mordekaiser has his. Congrats, Scorch, on getting the first dragon. And the gold in the match is in a fairly even state. Most of it on Talia for Vancouver, while otherwise spread between the top 3 for Scorch. At least for kill credit. Yeah, gold too. Braum heading on top side. Actually they rotated. Okay, that's not gonna be great for Olaf. As Vancouver bot lane will probably be able to get played pretty safely here. Karma seems to be rotating, but deciding to hover Diana for now, does spot out the Lee Sin. There is the aggression, beautiful Wukong ult, but the Diana ult was a bit too slow for the follow-up. As Olaf will be giving up a plate. Syndra can't keep up with that. Ooh, tower dive attempt gone awry with Braum dying, but Olaf is very low. Ooh, I forget her name. Ult comes out. Yunara, that's what her name was. Hold up. I have to see what happened there. Okay, Syndra was ulted by Mordekaiser. As you can tell by that curvature movement, knocks Mordekaiser under the tower. This was not stunned, however. As her ultimate comes out and will not be enough to kill Mord. Yo, that dance music is just perpetually playing in this bush. Alright, Wukong trying to hold the line here while any laners come back. Nara is active. Karma coming up from the side. Braum is low, however. Alright, Mantra Q won't do anything. As I'm going to have to swap back to mid lane again here. Alright, Lee Sin rounding up the side. Diana goes aggressive. Decides she has to come back. Will get knocked by the Talia. As Lee Sin will secure the final blow. Especially after charging Diana's ultimate, not ult, flash. Very unfortunate for her. Alright. Hold off it. Waiting. Axe barely misses. Boo's back just enough to not get hit by the tower. Oh my god. Why? Why? Okay, I'm just leaving directed cam on for a bit. Backing up. What happened? What happened? Okay, stun missed. Braum decides to go aggressive. Perfectly land the stun and knock up setup there. Very nicely played. Alright, directed cam, have at it. I keep missing stuff. Let's just let it sit. But looks like Vancouver is starting to get a bit of an edge out over Scorch. Hopefully they can split together and prevent the trickle from getting heavier. Alright. Braum taking a bit of hurt. Does not expect the Olaf. Drops below half health. Olaf going ham. And it looks like, ooh, kill went to Karma. Unfortunate. Missed his axe. Will get slowed. Does not have his ultimate available at the moment. So he is a bit of a sitting duck right now. Mordekaiser's going to be taking the topside tower. There's no one to contest him at this point. As Wukong goes over the wall onto the Talia as she will go down to Diana. However, plates are still up. Mordekaiser's gotten quite a bit to his name right now. as Syndra finally makes it up there. Does not land the stun. Alright. Second dragon looks like it might go to Scorch, but here comes the teleport from Mordekaiser to counteract this. We'll bring it to a 4v4. Out comes the Braum ultimate. Everyone's a bit grouped up. Hard to tell what's going on, but the Olaf is caught out. Once again, has no ultimate, so not much he can do as Diana falls immediately afterwards. 2 kills going into Mordekaiser. That alongside the tower plates nets him 1,600 gold. Will be able to finish his item here. Riftmaker is a go. Darkseal sitting at 4 stacks. And if he gets just a bit stronger, he might be a bit too powerful for Olaf to be able to deal with here soon. Hopefully that's not the case for Scorch. But at the very least, Syndra is getting a bit of tower. Maybe not. But Diana's got a fair amount of magic penetration stacked to this point. There is the locket on Braum first item as expected. There are so many wards there, it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of how you want the match to be. 500 million wards over the objective. Olaf poking on the Mordekaiser some. Yeah, taking a lot of hurt on his own. Mordekaiser does have that shield that he has to be mindful of, but you can clearly see that damage is quite intense onto Olaf at this point. He doesn't have any lifesteal items available at the moment, doesn't have any magic resistance other than the passive of his ult. And you see Braum hovering up on the top side as well. Out he comes. Olaf ultimate is up and ready, so Braum isn't a massive threat, but he is additional damage, which can very easily tilt the favor into Mordekaiser's end. Alright, here comes the pool attempt. Alright, there's the Olaf ultimate. Will it be enough for Mord to survive? Yes, it will, with his W and Locket compounded together. Nice Q. Bonking onto the Diana there. Missed the Q. Crescented away from her target. Lee Sin hops out with almost no health available to him. Diana ultimate is down, however. Mordekaiser does get the kill. Riftmaker is primed. W is on cooldown for a bit longer. Actually, quite a bit longer. As Yunara will secure the kill on Diana. Mordekaiser low, but is building up his shield on this Rift Herald. Syndra trying to get away from Braum. Yunara just wailing away as she turns her focus onto Karma after taking the Syndra. Double kill. Vancouver is up to a 4,000 gold lead at this point. And there is still a feed available. Looks like. I believe that it is one objective away for either side to claim the feats of this game. Let's take one more look at the gold skew now. After all that has happened, Yunara's got 1,200 gold lead over Syndra. I just had to double check stuff. Mordekaiser with a 1.4k gold lead over Olaf. Lead just about 800 over Wukong. Mid lane is relatively even, and supports Braum has more gold, but that's more unfortunate that he has more gold, but does make him chunk. Here comes the ultimate setup from Diana. Does get a bit of her on the field, and Wukong damage follow-up is doing quite a bit, but Yunara is going to paddle him quite a bit with those orbs. Should be a good moment to decide to back off here after getting those kills. Alright, that was a good fight in favor of Scorch, as it locked in their feet. Indeed. Yep, dragging up in 3 seconds. They might be able to secure this, as there are still 3 enemies down. Gnar decides to take the top lane tower. That is the second tower taken from Scorch this game. While they have been capitalizing very well on the neutral objectives this time around, leaving your base to die is a bit unfortunate, as it does make certain sections of the match much more dangerous for you to venture. Right. Tower just barely alive at this point before Olaf made it. Right, that fight actually brought Olaf relatively close to Mordekaiser at this point. This is a very intense match. The gold gap's still sitting around 3,000 at this point, or almost 4,000, but it's gonna be even up again after that tower goes down. This match has been pretty close thus far, but it still looks like Vancouver is looking for an opportunity to snowball further. Don't want to be giving it to them. Mordekaiser's sitting on 5 stacks on his ring. I think that Olaf needs a bit more to be able to overcome the item advantage that Mordekaiser presently has over him. Their gold's even, but Mordekaiser opted for finishing his second item rather than upgrading his boots. So he will have more general power, especially with that item being Leandri's compounded with Riftmaker. A lot of damage he's got available to him. And I think Olaf's going for Sundered Spear? Something. Oh, or Shojin. I think Shojin would probably make more sense, but I'm not entirely certain. And yep, there is the Sundered Spear. I only say that Shojin might make more sense because Sundered Spear has that relatively long cooldown per proc on the same target, which won't be super beneficial into Mordekaiser, while Spear of Shojin will give the damage amplification. I think it... Actually, I'm not sure if it amplifies the damage still. But it would give him a lot of cooldown access for his own shield and steroids. He doesn't really need it for his axe, but the true damage procs and all that would be helpful for, I think. But I'm not sure. I don't use these champs, I only sometimes fight against and alongside them. Mordekaiser finally getting access to his Swifties, so getting away from him is going to be a very difficult endeavor. Alright. Olaf looks to be wanting aggression here. The Mordekaiser does have his shield charged up some. Axe misses. Will Wukong be coming in? It will possibly be a tower dead. I wonder if Mord got local rolled. I didn't spot it. Mord's taking quite a bit of hurt, but Olaf is as well. Olaf did come out. Final hit right there. Yeah, I think that Olaf actively needs to avoid getting hit by those Qs, otherwise he will just die. Because those bonks with that non-existent magic resistance available to him at this point. Alright. Atacon helping Diana speed towards her doom. As Vancouver will claim the Atacon buff, as well as 4 lives, and including the Olaf, from these engagements here, and possibly 2 towers. 6,000 gold lead, moving to 7,000 gold lead. Still have one more tower to deal with as Rift Herald was sent down mid to help Scorch defend somewhat. Here come the recalls, 30 seconds until Dragon spawns. Slightly late with the recalls, but they will have enough time to get to lane. It takes like, what, 21 seconds or so, if you speed right too. Alright, claiming a bounty, good. 400 gold split for your team. You do need wins wherever you can. Unfortunately, they won't be able to spend that gold before this engagement coming up. Talia wasn't able to spend any of her gold herself either, but she does have Rylai's, and that could be enough for her to be able to zone some of these champions. As Olaf is having a really hard time moving away, does get knocked back into his death. Moving this to presently 5v3. You need Wukong here, however. We'll go for a steal, and success for the soul! That does open up Elder Dragon to the next objective here, as Talia solos herself out, as she will die and give a bounty over to Diana. The rest of Vancouver will be pushing up along the bottom side of this lane. Or bottom side of them. Pushing up Scorch's bot lane into their base. 4v2 at this point. Braum getting low, but he's Braum and just bait. As Syndra goes down, ult unused. Olaf back from the dead. Bit of extra healing provided for him thanks to that Ocean Drake. He is a bit of a threat to everyone that isn't Mordekaiser at this point, unless once again grouped up on and focus fired. Will safeguard a ward as Braum continues back off with more. Going deeper and deeper. Wukong will claim the scuttle. We'll give some vision to dissuade any Baron attempts for the upcoming segmentation of time. As Yunara finds a wild Diana and pushes an advantage with 2 on her back. But it is a Wukong with the Diana. As she goes aggressive, will land a beautiful ultimate and claim a 700 gold bounty. 1080 gold into her pocket? Ah, from her item, that's right. As it is a 4v4 situation, Olaf going in deep, but he will pop out of his ultimate. Is probably going to be perpetually slowed again by the Talia here. So it's hard for him to disengage. Wukong will get out of the Mord ultimate safely. Karma doing what she can, but not going to be enough as Vancouver manages to recoup the lost ground. Beautiful Q from Lee Sin. Karma dead. As that may open up a Baron opportunity. Rusty Crow's on the middle end of the map did push a wave forward, so should be able to provide a bit of presence to dissuade the Baron attempt. Looks like he might be going to disrupt Yunara instead. Will get spotted on the ward here as you see the full team turning around. Does not have enough damage on his own to take out the Yunara, as that will be a Baron for Vancouver. As the recalls come out, lots of gold to spend around. Mordekaiser deciding he needs a tad more for what he wants. That is a fully stacked Magi. Absolute beast right now. 450 ability power. Popped an elixir of sorcery at that. This is the game-ending push here. It's looking like to me 2 minutes on the clock. They want to catch stuff out. They want to put pressure everywhere they can with this Baron buff. absolutely strangle your opponent from gaining any ground to be able to contest the Elder Dragon and close it out immediately after, if even that. We'll see how Scorch will attempt defense here on this 9,000 gold deficit nearly. As Mordekaiser will be pushing up top on his own. Thanks to his ultimate, even if his allies come to help out the Olaf in the defense, it won't really matter all that much, just because he can isolate himself as long as needed. Would provide plenty of room for his allies to push afterwards. Olaf on a 2-level deficit, and basically a full item deficit at this point, because Mordekaiser has that Magi stack. The Magi's with the Oblivion Orb and Kindle Gem together is basically a completed item on its own right, and then some. Olaf, Serpents? That makes sense. The shields from Mordekaiser have been pretty darn chonky. Alright, defense is working fine. Still seems to be another wave of super minions coming in. This may just be the very last wave of super minions at the very least. That is some solace. But Sindri needing to use her ultimate. As Olaf getting some very well managed aggression onto Mordekaiser, but looks like it's not going to be enough with this middle tower going down here. Top tower not long after with those Baron empowered minions. Mordekaiser ultimate. Camera brought us away. But it's understandable because this is a huge engagement going off. Diana's Zanya's Hourglass trigger. I should have zoomed out earlier. That was the issue. Okay, once this eases up, I'm going to back up and see how that fight went down between the Mordekaiser and the Olaf. Stun comes out. Braum should go down. As this looks like a counter push, actually. They've got 2 opponents dead and Elder Dragon's coming up. Yeah, this could be the opening that Scorch needs to come back. Lee Sin is up, however, so you have to be very careful about this. You do have wards available, but that blast cone right there could be problematic. Olaf recalling in the bush, but yep, Elder Dragon will go down successfully. Scorch's reintroduction to this fight is at hand. With the 6,000 gold deficit, but Elder Dragon's buff giving them a notable advantage despite the deficit. We will see what avenue they will have to push forward at this point. However, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Wukong has so few items. 10,000 gold, Trinity Force, and Sundered Spear. Shouldn't he have like 2,000 more gold to spend? Oh well. Here's the push. Olaf is on the top side. You've got 3 in the middle with Wukong rounding up the blind spot, which is no longer a blind spot because Braum put a ward there just in the nick of time. But you have to make sure that you can push these when able. You need to gain control of that jungle area between you and your Olaf, so that you can rotate and safely apply pressure on both sides. It will force the enemies away from their defensive posturing. Otherwise, sitting like this, it's going to be very easy for each end to clear. Alright, that first tower is down at the very least. Olaf moving around the side. Is this going to be a dive attempt? Mordekaiser backing up. Wave moving in. A lot of hurt onto the Yunara. Or no, that's Talia. Honestly, Olaf, I feel if you have minions there, you could probably just keep bashing at the tower at least for a couple of hits, since shared some damage from Mordekaiser at that point, I think. But not wanting to take the risk is understandable. But you do have Elder Dragon. You see all that damage output from the Elder is ridiculous. Wukong taken out, however, is very dangerous for Scorch. Enemies are grouped up. Beautiful Diana ultimate will take out the Braum. out comes Olaf with the flash into the enemy, taking out Inara. Ultimate up. Lee Sin doesn't die to the Elder Dragon execute. I believe it's because the Olaf died, but I feel like the trigger should still happen. King's going out to motion to Mordekaiser or Talia that they could teleport up to the inhibitor, possibly. Very unfortunate. If Lee Sin died right there, that could have been an avenue to dig deep into the base there. But with Elder Dragon down, Scorch managed to gain about 2,000 gold from that. Diana's ultimate almost back up. Here comes the teleport. So Talia's back in play. Diana will not get hit by the knock up there. Next Elder Dragon will be up for another 3 minutes. Alright, Wukong upgraded Merc Treads and got Hex Drinker alongside. Mordekaiser has Seeker's Arm Guard at this point. That item in itself is enough to make Olaf go into a pretty heavy state of panic because the invuln duration is just enough to eliminate the uptime of Olaf ult. As we see a lot of vision control down here at Brown Elder Pit. Dragon Pit, not Elder Pit. I guess it is an Elder Pit right now since, you know, but it'd be weird to say. It felt weird to say, even though it was technically correct. Dragon Pit. Alright, now they're moving out to Baron Pit. I assume they maybe did that because they intend to stall this long enough for Elder to spawn, but not sure. Alright, Olaf sitting up in the tri-bush, waiting for something to happen. Alright, good on Scorch. We're going for the mid lane dominance approach. Unfortunately for Olaf, you are not a one-to-one situation with Mordekaiser at the moment. Alright, more recalls coming out. As Diana finished her 4th item, Proto Belt is ready. Hold on a sec, let me see something. Not bad. And not great. But it's fair, because they have Ocean Soul. Healing mitigation does, you know, eliminate some of the benefits provided by it. As, yep, Elder Dragon come up in 30 seconds. There comes the ping to opt for... I'm not sure if I would trade Elder Dragon for Baron. It seems like a very losing trade. And like, while Vancouver can turtle, you have a pretty sizable lead at this point, but you don't want the enemy to catch up. Because generally wombo combos win games. And they don't have a wombo there. Ooh, out comes the stun from the Syndra, knocking Braum to half health. Very difficult situation here. Mordekaiser's pushing up all on his own, however. If there was a reaction to it, it could be very bad for him. But he postured himself. Oh, he is going for heavy pressure. Alright, Olaf is separated at this point. There is no chance that Olaf loses that. Olaf can't stop Mordekaiser teleport either. Wait, what? Alright, Mordekaiser won. Here comes the Elder Dragon. Mord could recall and secure this. Diana ultimate whiffed. Unfortunate redemption out to heal up a bit. As Scorch is being forced off, as Mordekaiser is busy just killing their base. This is looking very unfortunate and very much in Vancouver's end. Here comes Rusty Crow for the attempt to steal. Will not be enough as Yunara gets the final blow. As Mordekaiser will be running into Syndra and Karma. Syndra flashes the Mordekaiser Q to take him out and avoid the Elder Dragon execute. Or wait, no, she wouldn't have died to Elder Dragon there. Well, technically she could have, but, you know, 10 stacks on Mejai's from Mordekaiser gone. Very unfortunate turn of events from Scorch there. You can't really fight Baron at this point. Well, you can if they get low enough, but Wukong is dead for 14 seconds, and do have Diana ultimate available, do have Olaf there. This would be very difficult. It is doable, just very, very hard. But the steal is not a possibility. Right, Yunara coming out very aggressively. Diana dead. Yunara GA triggered. Olaf putting quite a bit of hurt, but the deaths will come one after another. Karma gets nicked by the Lee Sin Q to go down. Only 2 remaining to defend the base. Into this team of 5 plus Elder Dragon. Let me just see what that timer's looking like right now. Ooh, just under half. Plenty of time to nuke. That effect is weird. Wukong ult comes out. Last play of desperation. As the executes are triggered and the base is destroyed. Gain 2 to Vancouver. Incredible match. Scorch almost with the comeback. Apologies for the ad. I'm sorry for the ad. So sorry. Hold up. I'll go to the replay real quick. If it'll let me. Just to play that last couple of minutes for you. Or that time span that was... Gotcha. Alright. Elder Dragon was here. I'll bring it up to where the inhibitor was. Alright, so... Or, I'll bring it back a bit further than that, actually. Alright, so Mordekaiser is moving up to put... Now the Zanya's sound is perpetually there. Alright, so Mordekaiser's moving up to pull Olaf away from his team and apply pressure to the base because Olaf is forced to come off at that point. But I don't feel that, because Mordekaiser has the Zanyas, I don't feel that Olaf can actually match the damage from it. So taking a look at the fight, Mordekaiser gets very low. Olaf ultimate comes out, will not be enough for him afterwards, but Mordekaiser did get dangerously low in that situation. Out comes the Syndra stun. Follow-up will be blocked by Zanya's and Bromwall together. As the team is forced off, if needed, technically Mordekaiser could recall and teleport to give the team a 5-player advantage, but it is not enough as Rusty comes in to try and steal this dragon as well. Will not be enough as Yunara gets the final blow at 140 health, roughly. As Mordekaiser forced out of base. Attempts to combo the Syndra as she flashes and ults him for the kill. Alright. That is 3 people remaining. 4 people on Vancouver's side with the Elder buff available as they are moving in for a Baron play at this point. This will be a 4v4 so far, but Rusty Crow is still on revival timer. So a steal is not particularly feasible at this point. But you could possibly pressure off to get some kills, but because they have Elder Dragon, it's very dangerous to attempt, so will get blocked off by the Braum. Out comes a beautiful stun to lock in Diana's death. Olaf trying to do what he can, flashes in, does not take out the Talia. Lee Sin flash forward, lands the Q onto Karma for the second kill. As Mordekaiser teleport coming in to apply pressure to the base. This is a 2v5 defense situation. Well, you know, are kind of catching up. But allies are separated. Rusticro comes in, tries to do what he can in the last desperation attempt to defend the base. But it will not be enough as the Elder Dragon executes come in. And Vancouver is here with the victory. Alright. As stated before, that was a pretty incredible match. Scorch did a nice job trying to maintain their position in the match. Unfortunately, got carried away once again. The map pressure being exuded by the Mordekaiser having a advantage throughout much of the match over the Olaf, further extended by the acquisition of the Seeker's Arm Guard and then the Zani's Hourglass. Gave him a lot of power into the 1v1 scenarios. Olaf was a pretty darn big powerhouse, however, throughout those fights. And Rusty getting that secure of the Ocean Soul was a really big factor into holding them in, as well as the counter push that provided Scorch the ability to get the Elder Dragon that almost opened up their path to victory. But Vancouver, again, played exceptionally well and kind of got carried away with Yunari getting a lot of gold funneled into her. Mordekaiser sitting on 25 stacks for quite an extensive part of the game. But honestly, despite Mordekaiser being at 25 stacks, it was still it still felt like a relatively even match despite those gold leads. Just because whenever that threat of Diana and Wukong going in was pretty hefty, there was that damage threat, and it was pretty crazy and did quite a bit for them. Braum, very, very nice plays with the shields and the sneaky rotates, helping Mordekaiser win that fight against Olaf early on with the locket trigger and all that. Really well done all around. But that will be it for the night. Congratulations, Vancouver, on the victory. Hope everyone enjoyed these matches. No problem. And with that, hope you all have a great night. Oops, wrong one. That one. Bye!